If you're just joining us, I'm Tim Barkley with Charleston Home Design magazine, and today's radio show is coming to you from Danco Modern Furniture, located at 1035 Johnny Dodds Boulevard in Mount Pleasant. And now we're talking with Kevin Whalley with Architecture Plus. How you doing, Kevin?
Great, Tim. Appreciate you letting us be here today.
Sure. Kevin, tell everybody about Architecture Plus.
Architecture Plus is a full-service architectural firm focused out of Charleston. This is our third year in business. Probably about 50% of what we do are high-end residential home designs. 25% are commercial structures, and 25% involved with public facilities.
Very good. And you mentioned Architecture Plus is how old?
This will be our third year in practice together.
Gotcha. But you have practiced architecture for how long?
Well, too long to. 25 years in Charleston for myself, 25 years for Tim Hilkhausen, my business partner, and Aaron Eade, our third business partner, has been in the Charleston area for about 15 years. So we've all got a good history in Charleston, have seen it grow up and mature into really a wonderful city that's nationally recognized.
Gotcha. About how many homes have you as an architect been involved with over the 25 years that you've practiced?
I've probably been fortunate to have been involved with probably 500 to 600 homes over the course of my tenure here in Charleston, and I would think that Tim has done about the same.
Gotcha. And Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, you are also a licensed general contractor as well?
I did carry that license. I let it expire this past year. But yes, I did the homework and the training necessary to learn that so that I could understand the builder's lingo a little better. But I have learned that I'm not a builder. I'm a much better architect, and there are things in the construction industry that are better served by a builder with a lot more experience than I have.
But having that construction background, or I would guess, helps you as an architect, because there's lots of different ways to build a house, and being having been involved on the construction side, you've seen what it's like. You've seen what it's like out in the field with when a house is being constructed, and they're maybe looking at a set of plans and going, now I wonder why they did it this way, or
what did he mean?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that both Tim Hilkhausen and Kevin Whalley with Architecture Plus bring to the client, is this 25-year history of design-build relationship, where we've worked very closely arm in arm with many of the local finest builders in Charleston, putting together a highly detailed set of drawings and specifications so that the expectations are clearly defined. And then we follow up with visits to the field to oversee what's going on, make sure that the client's expectations are being met. And it's really a full service, kind of a full spectrum thing, even though we're not performing the building.
Gotcha. And that term design build, what does that mean?
I think the design build term, let me use an example. When a client interviews, asks a realtor when they purchase a property, they walk into a house, it may have been done by a builder because that's the last person that touched it, but there was obviously an architect or a designer involved. And so if they burrow down, they can find out, who did this facade that they like so much, or who created these interior spaces. And oftentimes it's a team of people. It's perhaps the architect and as well as interior designers. And a lot of times you've got the influence of the builder in there as well. But you go from there and start with the architect. I always think it's good to have the architect look at the property and help you visualize what can be done on the lot. Oftentimes, folks will have some idea of what they want to build in terms of their second home or retirement home or relocated home here in Charleston. And so we spend a lot of time doing a site analysis and a study, affording the best view angles, the best relationship to the street and the natural surroundings and the community in general. And then we go from there and help them conceptualize the various spaces inside the house and try to pull together the collage, if you will, of spaces. and then put it all down in drawings and help them visualize the completed home as it might be on the site.
Hmm. Have you ever designed a house specific to the home site itself?
Oh, absolutely. I think I learned a long time ago, someone would come in and say, hey, I saw a house you did over here that I really loved. And so you might start with that, but it might not work exactly for the lot that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes you've got to step back, as I say, and do a little bit more research in terms of how does this lot interact with the community, how does it interact with the facade, the materials, the colors, the covenants that are in this particular area, so that it doesn't become a cookie cutter type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that as expensive as it has become to purchase construction materials and to build a good quality home today, I think the homeowner is well served to take a little care and hire an architect, hire a professional to help them get through this process of understanding the site and how the house can best be centered, located, interact with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always, I guess, thought about, try to look ahead into the future. One day, you most likely you're going to have to sell that house, and you're not going to. It's not just you selling, but you're competing with your neighbor's house,
Right.
For sale, and so you don't want a cookie cutter type house.
No, you want to stand out and be unique. And I think it's important to understand that I've been practicing now 30 plus years, so I am the age or older than my client.
Mm-hmm.
So I am able to coach them or counsel them a little bit in what things work and what things may be viable to resell a home in 5 to 10 years. And also on the other end of the spectrum, people are staying in houses a little bit longer now. So if you want to have a full-time residence, you need to make sure your closets are large enough and that your furniture pieces will fit in your house. And so there's a lot of different detailed elements in the design that aren't cookie cutter either.
Mm-hmm. True. And I guess when I think of cookie cutter, I'm thinking of maybe house plans that somebody might look at and think about purchasing online, for an example.
Yes, I think that's a good beginning for people to see an inspiration, whether it's an exterior view or a floor plan layout or a lifestyle that they see, laid out there. But in the low country, because of our flood zone requirements and because of our code requirements, high wind, seismic, that type of thing, we elevate our homes, we have crawl spaces, and we have other particular weather and natural features that are really challenging to the exterior materials. So, the building envelope needs to be well thought out, and it needs to be well designed and well put together.
Mm-hmm.
If the house is going to live to be, 20 to 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We've got homes in Charleston that are 200 years old. So surely we can build a house for 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I think sometimes people want to speed up the process. They want to snap their fingers, and
Right.
the house just appears finished in front of them, and they maybe get a little ahead of themselves, and it's possible to cut some corners perhaps and say, well, if I hire an architect, it's going to be X number of months for them to draw it. I could just buy these plans online,
Mm-hmm.
and then get started quickly, and then I don't know, Kevin, have you ever walked into a house where you get this instant feeling like, ooh, this room is too small?
Yes, and I've also walked into a house where perhaps the lot was more spectacular than the plan allowed for it to be. In other words, there was not a lot of views or natural light coming into the house because of how it was a standard plan, or maybe they raised the ceilings and they didn't correct the stairs so that the stairs are running into you at the front door. I mean, I read a quote the other day. It said, "Isn't an architect expensive?" And the architect responded by saying, "Try building a project without one,
Mm-hmm.
and see how expensive that gets."
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we try to do is to do a set of detailed drawings so that people avoid extras and
Mm-hmm.
change orders or unforeseen things as they go along in the construction phase of their planning. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
think it is important to do good planning up front.
Yeah, sure. And the number one thing that you want to avoid when you're building a house is at the conclusion is you never ever want to have any regrets. You don't want to be like, oh, I wish I had done this or I wish I had done
Right.
that. And I think about hiring an architect. It's almost like regret-free insurance or something like that, because an architect is going to bring forth ideas that you could not have imagined yourself, and you could not have necessarily seen in a house plan online or something like that. They're going to unveil things that for the possibilities for your home that you wouldn't have thought of or had in your home ultimately without an architect.
Well, since you experienced it, I mean, after it takes about 8 to 10 years to learn to be an architect, take the exam, and become registered and licensed in the state of South Carolina. You do learn a lot. You learn what to avoid, and you learn what works well. And I do think that sharing those experiences graphically with a client to show them different ways that spaces can relate to one another. And there are, we always laugh, what used to be an upgrade 10 years ago is a standard today, because people have so much information online. They can see everything out there. So it is a great myriad of things that you weave into the project, and houses are very complicated. I mean, commercial buildings are complex, but a house is very complex because of so many details that go into it. And of course, it's very personal to the homeowner. I mean, they're going to live in it and love their family in it. So it's a very important part of their life.
Right. Yeah, and if for no other reason than you want the most valuable house that you possibly can have, and sometimes that value goes beyond just the money that's invested. It's sometimes the overall design can make the house more valuable, will make the house more valuable, and so you just, if for that reason alone, I think it makes sense to hire an architect. Slow down a little bit, get it done right the first time. Sometimes people spend more time researching the purchase of a vehicle than they do hiring a builder or deciding to hire an architect or that whole thing.
Well, the idea of collaborating with an architect and talking to architects to see if the communication's going to be good, see if the character is going to be what they're looking for. I think that's important in your relationship. And I encourage people to. There are a lot of good architects in Charleston. We've got a lot of wonderful opportunities here to do some fine buildings. But I think people are best served if they find a professional and seek out some of those experiences that they can share. The intrinsic of drama and things that color and space can bring to a design that are kind of intrinsic. Those are the speak words that we use, but you can really put those things out in place and have one design overshadow another because it does capture certain things.
Well, you'll never be sorry if you hire an architect for your project, but you might be sorry if you don't.
I think so.
Yeah. What have you experienced in your years as an architect? Like, I would imagine hiring an architect, it's a lot of it must be personality driven, and am I going to get along with the architect? Is the architect are they good listeners? Are they going to be able to understand what I'm looking for? If somebody is maybe, do people generally interview different architects for a project before hiring them, or how does that usually go?
I think today people do interview architects in a lot more depth than that probably ever before. I think they are interested in their personalities, and I think they are interested in the work that they've completed. Oftentimes people will look for an example of something that they like. But I remember years ago in architecture class, the architect that designed the Kennedy Center also designed Mummers Theater in Oklahoma City, and they were two different buildings on two different sites. They didn't have any relationship to one another. So you can't necessarily go by just completed work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is personality, and it has to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a big investment, both time and emotion for the client, but it can be fun. And we've got a couple tools now, Tim, that we do a lot of 3D modeling on the exterior of the house. Don't fly through it so much like you can do. That can be an expensive endeavor. But we do a lot of 3D modeling to help the layperson see how the house masses on the property. And Aaron Eade at our firm directs a lot of that. And that's really a new thing. And I'm also really excited that Whalley Spake Gray is our new interior designer that's working with us in collaboration to assist clients in the selection process as they go into their homes and pick their features and cabinets and put their things into their house. It's a very important part of the finished project.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, tell everybody how they can get in touch with Architecture Plus.
Well, we've just relocated to our new studio at 1044 East Montague in the second floor, Suite 201 in North Charleston. We're delighted to be there. We've got a little bit more room to spread out now and collaborate with one another. There's 4 to 5 of us in there typically, and we'd encourage you to look us up on the website at architectureplusllc.com, architectureplusllc.com.
Okay.
And we'd look forward to meeting you and taking a look at your property and seeing how we can help you.
Great. Well, we've been talking with Kevin Whalley with Architecture Plus. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you, Tim.